and there are 32 small islands sitting between Grenada and St. Lucia. St. Vincent is the red dot on the map, and Barbados is east of it. St. Vincent is the largest of the Grenadine Islands. It's 150 square miles with a population of about 111,000 people and a beautiful mountainous country. The past eruptions of Lansefere volcano were in 1718, 1812, 1902, and 1979. Today, I'm going to speak about the Lansefere volcano eruption and how our fundraising began. I brought the St. Vincent situation to our clubs and the district attention for more than one reason. I am a Rotarian, and that is what we do. We reach out to people in need. My personal connection to St. Vincent, I grew up in Barbados. I'm from the region, and St. Vincent is just 166 kilometers west of Barbados. And when I was in the Scouts in Barbados as a young man, my first time away from home was a 1-week camping trip to the island of St. Vincent. And the highlight of that trip was a hike to Lansefere volcano. Lansefere looked like this on the day of our hike. When I reached the top, there it was, this large crater. The scenery was breathtaking, a view that stays with you forever. Today, it doesn't look anything like this picture. This is St. Vincent, as I remember it, a lush, green, mountainous country. This is a devastating time to the people of the country in more than one way. And they are currently fighting more than one battle. I'll explain to that why I'm saying more than one battle. First, it started with a dengue fever outbreak in late 2020. And second, the COVID-19 pandemic. And third, Lansefere volcano eruption. And not to mention that the rainy season has begun, and right now it's causing major flooding as we speak. This week is start of the hurricane season in the Caribbean to add on top of that. This year, their worst nightmare has come true. On April 8th, there was an increase of activity at the volcano site that caused an explosion. And the alert was raised from orange to red. And evacuation was ordered, and everyone had to leave the red, orange zones in the north and move to the green zone in the south, out to the danger zone. But keep in mind that it's a small island. Moving from the north to the south is only roughly about 45 kilometers or so. But no doubt, this prompt action will prevent the loss of lives. This is the flight from the danger zones. And 15% of the population live in the danger zones. And many, of these people that live in the danger zones are farmers and fishers. They had to abandon their livestock, the poultry, the crops, and so on. And this is having a substantial effect on this agricultural-rich island. Also keep in mind that this is taking place on top of the COVID-19 pandemic. And most of the people would be placed in shelters, and this is another concern for the government. And you can see this is the first explosion. This was happening on April the 9th. And this was followed by a series of 30 explosions, and over 20 occur in the first 2 days. The first column of ash reaching as high as 10 kilometers, which is about the altitude of a commercial jet. But the good news today is that the red alarm has changed to an orange. So it's still considered high. Orange is still considered high, so that means that you can actually get an eruption or an explosion within 24 hours notice. This is an aftermath of the volcano. This was once a waterfall, and this is what the eruption damage had left of that waterfall. This is the Willowbell River. The landscape has changed overnight, and you can see that there's 3 people standing on top of this landscape. This is the embankment of just ash and debris, from the volcano eruption. This is on the red zone on the leeward flank of the volcano. This is a 13-meter, 40-foot high riverbank of the Willowbell River. This is ash and volcanic deposits. This was once a beautiful area. The movie Pirates of the Caribbean was shot here. That will give you an idea of what it looked like. This is the president of the Rotary Club of St. Vincent. After watching the news for a couple of days, I reached out to the Rotary Club of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and spoke to Joseph Sheridan and Mikasha Ramsaram about the developing situation due to the volcanic eruption and to inform us how we can be of any help. Their response were, yes, they would appreciate our assistance, and that led to our club's meeting. They present us with an emotional presentation, and they are clearly overwhelmed by the magnitude of the situation. Some of the things that we talk about, the damage to the schools, the homes, the farms, and the loss of livestock. Also to mention, there was no water supply for the first 3 days. But the Rotary clubs from the neighboring islands came to their rescue and quickly resolved that issue. Water at this time had been brought back on stream for the most part. He also mentioned that they were very thankful that no lives were lost. St. Vincent have 2 Rotary clubs and a Rotary Act, and they are playing a very vital role in this crisis. In the first 3 weeks alone after the eruption, the clubs extended over 6,000 hours of service, from the managing the supply warehouse, reaching out to the people in private homes and shelters, delivering supplies and hot meals to the evacuees, providing water, food, in some cases, relocating families with children to a more suitable place. The Rotary Club of St. Vincent is doing a fantastic job. They have the manpower, but they are short of funds to meet the basic needs. This is some of today's needs, a bit of a short list. This needs is constantly changing as things evolve from day to day, from week to week. But we will hear shortly from Marine Board how we can help. This is the ADG from Haiti. He flew in to train the people how to use water filters. And he's training the farmers and most of the people from the red zone, because they will be the last to receive their water supply. Here we have the Minister of Agriculture. He's assessing the damage to the banana trees. And this year harvest is totally destroyed by the hot gas and the weight of the volcanic ash. Bananas are the main crop of the island, followed by root crops like arrowroot and yams and others and potatoes and so on. And the banana plant on average takes about 10 to 15 months for a plant to produce fruit. So you can see that this year is totally lost. This country is more or less known as the unofficial breadbasket to the Caribbean, because it supplies, all the vegetables, potatoes, yams, and oranges, bananas, and so on to the other islands. And this is the way they make their money to support their country. So this is very, very efficient. This is devastating to this country. They lost all the efficiency here. It's going to take at least a year to recover from this disaster. Here's a breakdown of the economy. You can see that banana does account for over 60% of the labor force and 50% of the total export. This is the way to receive their foreign currency. The main component to service sector, that's at 5.6%. Manufacturing plays a very minor role. And fisheries is for local consumption and also the tourist industry. But I'm not quite sure if this data is really up to date because unless most of it is not being recorded, but it's quite low for, a country that have such access to fishery. Okay. What are we going to do from here? We're probably going to show a small video of the aftermath of the volcano.
It has been 3 weeks since a volcano erupted on the Caribbean island of St. Vincent. It caused a huge amount of damage to tourist and residential areas.
Thousands of properties were covered in ash, and around 15% of the island's population remain in emergency shelters or temporary accommodation.
Our correspondent Will Grant has been to St. Vincent to see how the clean-up operation is going.
The aftermath of the eruption of La Soufrière is hauntingly beautiful and destructive. The explosion left hillsides denuded of their tree cover and a ghostly coating of white ash over every inch of St. Vincent's northern coastline. The pyroclastic lava flows brought tens of thousands of tons of material down the mountainside, and a hail of dust and stones showered over the villages below. One of them was Sandy Bay, a picturesque fishing village reduced to a dust bowl overnight. Located in the worst affected red zone, evacuated villagers now risk fresh emissions and mudslides to clear the debris.
We have 295 students.
The local primary school teacher is Annelle Francois. Her pupils had been preparing to return to class after months of homeschooling during the pandemic. The volcano ended that plan when the school roof came down under the weight of the ashfall.
I was really distressed, knowing that so many students would be out of an education for a while. Now is the time that they should rebuild the proper structure that they had said they're going to build.
There isn't a home, a vehicle or a surface in St. Vincent that isn't covered by a thick layer of this very fine volcanic dust. With hurricane season approaching, it is going to take this community and St. Vincent as a whole many months to recover from this.
It's a multi-dimensional challenge of immense proportions.
St. Vincent's Prime Minister says the eruption has compounded the problems created by coronavirus.
Plus, of course, the desolation in the northern one-third of the country. The complete decimation of agriculture and animal husbandry in that one-third. The infrastructure has been shot through.
The islanders recently held a national day of prayer. Thankful it wasn't a national day of mourning. But the evacuees at this shelter are still victims of an act of God which put their families at risk. Around 15% of St. Vincent's population was forced from their homes, many sleeping in converted classrooms, eating donated meals, relying on charity. Yet Nelsia says it wasn't hard to drop everything and run.
Because of fright, I didn't even think about leaving everything behind.
She lost her teenage daughter in a bus crash a few years ago and says leaving material things was easy in comparison.
It was just getting out of there, be safe.
That is the only saving grace of this huge disruption to St. Vincent, that no one died. But the volcano is still active, and the scale of the tragedy for a small island is vast. Homes, crops, animals, entire livelihoods buried beneath the ash. Will Grant, BBC News, St. Vincent.
Extraordinary images, those, aren't they? Really brings home just what they're having to deal with.
Real contrast between obviously such a beautiful place and the devastation that's been wreaked.
Okay.
Okay, my turn to take over. You'll note that Hal is from the Caribbean and obviously is very passionate about this area. You saw my background. I tend to be from the numerical side, and I do a lot of work in our club in making sure numbers are right. These were statistics from a little over a month ago. The beautiful thing is what down at the right-hand side, number of casualties, 0. There was a good warning system in place, and people respected it and moved. The thing that is interesting is the total number of people they're dealing with in the Kingston town area of 13,154. They're split between private homes and public shelters. You saw some of the pictures in the shelters of setting up beds in classrooms. I can give you a comparison of this. Think Gander, Newfoundland, 9/11, where 7,000 air passengers descended on the airport in this small town, and the people were at the airport with their cars, their trucks, saying, I can take 4, I can take 6, and they took them to their own homes and to some shelters as well. That was for about 5 days. And then the airs opened and the planes were able to leave. This is not over here in St. Vincent in 5 days. They're talking 3 to 6 months because of the problems with the rainy season, with the hurricane season, with trying to get roads opened up, houses back in some sort of shape when they've lost their roofs. So this is going to be 3 to 6 months that the Rotary clubs of St. Vincent and St. Vincent Sunrise and the Rotaract Club will be putting in more hours than the 6,000 that Hal talked about. They're going to be working for months. And they're providing the funding, which they are getting from Rotarians around the world. It's Rotarians helping Rotarians. Not easy for us to go down there and get out the shovels and clean off roofs, but we can help them restore their life. Next. So the need is for funding. There's going to be a while before everything is back to normal. Next. The Rotary Club of Toronto, its president, is not from the Caribbean, but he spends every holiday he possibly can on Hal's beautiful island of Barbados. And when this happened and he heard about it, he said, our club is going to do something. I will insist as president that our club do something. Next. We've agreed to be the banker for this as a district project. We are working with Mark Chipman. You'll find a lot of information on the 7070 website, and it was well publicized in the district newsletter. So we have some ability to be a banker. We can issue tax receipts. We've set up our online transfer now to get money there through wire orders, where a lot of clubs cannot send money easily overseas. Next. Our club has provided $10,000 Canadian to match donations from others, but we're following the Bill Gates model, which he did with Polio Plus. He called up the president of Rotary several years ago and says, I've just transferred by wire order $125 million for Polio Plus. I want you to match it, but while you're waiting for the match to come in, I want you to start spending $125 million. So our $10,000 has gone to St. Vincent already. We want to keep track of this project as a district project and be able to record the donations from all of the clubs and do a summary at the end of this process. Next. Some clubs have managed to figure out how to wire order easily to St. Vincent. It took us a while. We ended up, instead of sending 10,000 Canadian, we sent 8,000 US. It was much easier, and we have done that. If you want to do it yourself, let me know. I will send the wire order instructions. My email is very easy, maureen.bird@rotarytoronto.com. Everyone in our club has a unique @rotarytoronto.com email address. It's first name dot last name. If you are going to send it yourself, let me know, because I am keeping a spreadsheet of donations as they come in. Number 2, next. If you are able to send a check to the club, the easiest way is actually to walk across the street and deposit it in the nearest Toronto Dominion Bank. I've done this with checks I've received for our club. I can give you also, if someone wants to write that down, the branch number, the account number, and make sure you memo it to St. Vincent so our accountant can keep track and put it in the proper place. So you've got the branch number, the account number, and who it's paid to, the Rotary Toronto Philanthropic Fund. Next. You can also mail it. Our office at the Rotary Club of Toronto is actually closed, but our accountant is getting there once a week to get checks signed. Again, it's Rotary Toronto Phil Fund or Philanthropic Fund, Memo St. Vincent. We're in the Royal York Hotel, which is at 100 Front Street. Next. If you are sending it, depositing a check or mailing a check, please let me know that you've done so, club name and amount. Again, that's me, maureen.bird@rotarytoronto.com. So we're hoping that your club, despite not having great fundraising this year because of COVID, will be able to assist us with helping St. Vincent. Next. Here's one thing our club can do easily. If an individual wants to donate, they can get a tax receipt. We've insisted that you do it online. Don't send it us a check. Do it online with a credit card. Next. We've got our link open. I've got a couple of slides to show you where you go to for this. We've got a donation button. We've got 2 different funds. You have to be careful. You go to the second one, which is the Phil Fund, which can send money overseas. The Charitable Foundation cannot. We've got a link. Choose St. Vincent. The next slide. This is our website. Across the top, under the long turquoise bar, is make a donation or contact us. You will hit make a donation right there. Next. You'll be brought over to a screen like this. I have scrolled down to where you can see up at the top, yes, I want to make a donation to the Phil Fund. So you will see Phil Fund. Down at the bottom, please designate. We've got a drop-down menu there. No, not general, down further. There we are. St. Vincent Volcano Disaster Relief. Make sure you click on that. And that will take you to the right place. You will get a tax receipt, and we will know that the money is to go to St. Vincent. Next. In order to track those individual donations, and we have been getting quite a few, we've asked you to identify your club name under the post office box. So you may enter a street address and then say North Scarborough, or Whitby Sunrise, or whichever club it is. And then I can take that amount and add it into anything the club donates and make a total for the club of club and individual donations. Next. There's also a link. I can send this information to Gordon that he can disseminate to his club. And that takes you immediately to the correct donation page where you will choose St. Vincent volcano eruption relief. Next, we're here to help. It's Rotarians helping Rotarians. We're doing this because we know the Rotarians on the job, on the site, have stepped up with sweat equity like you wouldn't believe. They've got the 2 warehouses. They are able to quickly make a few calls over to a neighboring island, get things shipped there within 2 days, easier than by small ships or small airplanes, easier than us trying to set up a container load here. And besides, what they needed the first day is not what they need now. As Hal mentioned, in the green zone, they were able to reestablish the water filtration plants and pump stations within 3 or 4 days. So there's still a lot of water which they do keep around, and certainly anyone slipping back up to check on things up north can pick up a couple of bottles of water to take. They're doing the training for the water filtration because, as Hal said, 3 to 6 months to get the water systems working up there. So if anyone's going back, they'll want a filtration system on the go. Are there any questions? Hal and I are open to any questions at this point.
Hal, can you stop sharing your screen, please?
Sure.
Thank you. Anybody got any questions? Good.
Yes, thank you. That was an extremely interesting talk and also really rattling. I mean, the devastation is just unbelievable. I have a simple question. Where exactly does the money that one would donate go to?
It goes directly to the Rotary Club of St. Vincent, and any fees for credit cards, our club is absorbing those. So if you donate $500, $500 will go to the St. Vincent Club. It's Rotarians directly to Rotarians from one Rotary account to another Rotary account.
Excellent. That's the way it should be. Thank you.
I agree.
Arthur?
Maureen,
Yes.
I donated some money online to Toronto Rotary Club. How do I check whether you guys received the money or not? Because I never heard from them afterwards.
Okay, you should receive an immediate tax receipt, and if you do not, please check your junk mail. And if you still can't find it, let me know, and I will see what we can do about getting it reissued.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it should come immediately. It should come there within a minute or two, and I've had people say, but I never saw it. Go into your junk mail. I always check that if I don't receive it immediately. And I run the AIDS walk too, and I get the emails saying, I didn't receive a receipt. Yes, it's in your junk mail. It's coming from a source that is doing multiple things.
I have a habit of automatically deleting the junk mail, so I may have to write to you. Send me another one, duplicate.
Oh, okay. Send me an email if you have not received it, maureen.bird@rotarytoronto.com, and I'll forward that to our accountant who has access to the online site.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
And thank you for the donation, Arthur.
Oh, you're welcome.
Danny Ramding? You're on mute, Danny.
Maureen, did you mention that there's a container that's going out as well?
I had heard about a container, but sometimes the absolute wrong things get in the container. Right. And what we may think is suitable here is not suitable there. Right. And I know we don't like to send containers to Africa because we can usually buy things cheaper there. I have to admit, a lot of them are shipped in cheaper from China and from India, but the prices are less than what we can buy them for here. Yeah. And again, they may not need that by the time we've sent things, like the water. You saw the one picture with the water stacked up in the warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else?
If I can just put one question out there. Any support from Global Medic or DART?
I've asked them about that. I also asked Nakasha if they had applied for disaster relief from Rotary International, and I need to think a reminder to ask her whether they got that or not. I think they applied because they RI will donate 25,000 for disaster relief. We're doing this directly ourselves. We would normally donate through Shelterbox and match contributions. Often our club has done 15,000 to Shelterbox and will match up to 15,000 other donations. But we talked to Shelterbox about that. And because tents and a lot of the filters were not things that were needed, cooking stuff, because they are right now in accommodation in the Kingstown area, that Shelterbox said they had never received a request and really weren't expecting them because of the difference in the situation.
Basil?
In answer to Courtney's question, Global Medic has been heavily involved in the St. Vincent relief.
Okay.
They were on site and they've done an amazing job.
Okay.
Anybody else? Peter?
Yeah, question. I can see a great focus and organization from the Toronto Club, and I congratulate you on that. But I didn't hear any response from the district. Is there action at that department?
Well, the district doesn't have funds.
No, that's
as
another.
Such. It administers the DDF, but we could not do a global grant on this. It was just not. It was not the time to do it. We wanted the money there now. You know how long global grants can take, and so there's other clubs around the world that I know are doing similar things. Did I answer all of your question, Peter?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. All right, Basil, you're scheduled to thank Maureen and Hal formally, please.
Maureen, Hal, it's been really wonderful having you with us. We are very grateful for what you're doing for the St. Vincent volcano relief. Having gone to high school in St. Vincent for many, many years, the pictures are all familiar. The Prime Minister of St. Vincent was just a little boy in the grammar school when I was graduating. The picture of the Rotarian members with their masks, we wouldn't have recognized two of them who have in fact attended our club when we met at Baton Rouge. The pictures of the devastation, places I've visited pre-volcano, and I know the effects of volcanoes on an island like St. Vincent. When Montserrat's volcano started in 1995, because Montserrat was a colony, it was heavily supported by England and still is. St. Vincent, being semi-independent, would normally have looked to places like Venezuela and Cuba for support. These days, those places are not able to support anybody else, having difficulty supporting themselves. So St. Vincent's situation is in fact desperate. The hurricane season, I've experienced hurricanes in St. Vincent and the other islands, and the damage that I know is coming, we just don't even want to think about. The Rotary clubs in St. Vincent do an amazing job, and you could be assured that the money going to them will be well used. So Maureen and Hal, thank you very, very much for your presentation today.
Thank you.
It was our pleasure.